Chosen men. Military skirmish games in the Napoleonic Wars. Hey, look at us with all of these brightly colored fellas. Red Army, Blue Army. Whoever controls that stone field at the end of the game wins the game. Let's take a look at our forces. In this corner, weighing in at 31 men, at least I think it's 31 men, wearing the red trunks, we have the British, led by Major Rojam, our first appearance of this dashing figure in the stovepipe hat. He is just a major. The only ability he has is jump to it. A unit within 6 inches can make a second move at the normal attack cost. I think that's just once a game. This is a 430-point force, give or take. I don't sweat the details too much. You have just 2 units. We've got a unit of 10 riflemen. That is Sergeant Tree Snag with, 7 riflemen, and then he's got a drummer and a flagman. Now the drummer lets him make free formation changes. The flag, he can't fight in melee, but he counts as 2 victorious wounds. Over here we've got a giant unit of line infantry. 16 infantrymen, the sergeant, the drummer, and a flagman. No, I'm sorry, 17 infantry, plus the sergeant, plus the drummer, plus the flag. And they are each led by just a plain old sergeant. Over here, we've got, weighing in at a scant 20 figures, we've got Lieutenant Colonel Eleanor. Now, because of the points, he doesn't have any special abilities. No strategies, no characteristics. He's just a straight lieutenant colonel. These guys are built on about 260 points. Oh, I'm sorry. It's 260 versus 340 for the British. You'll see why in a moment. Our first appearance of the Foot Dragoons. I showed you these in a separate video, but I don't know how well they showed up. Take a look at these handsome fellers, huh? There's only 4 of them, but what gold helmets? Man, what a good-looking crew. Foot Dragoons. At the scale of Game of Chosen Men, the horses have been left behind and they've rushed up to do what they can. Over here on the right is a line of regular infantry. We've got a sergeant, a drummer, and 8 infantry. Excuse me, we've got a sergeant, a drummer, a flagman, and 2, 4, 6, 7 regular infantry. Again, the drummer allows them to make a free formation change, and the flag, it counts as bonus hits when figuring out who won the melee. They also have a light cannon with a crew. 1 captain, 3 crew. Here's our terrain setup. You can see the whole thing. The scenario is the French are defending this crossroads and bridge. The British are going to come in on this side of the table. Moving up from the south, they want to try and take control of this little farm area. So at the end of the game, whoever has the most figures north of the stream and west of this road right here wins the game. The game will use variable turn length. It's going at the end of turn 6, we're going to roll a d6. On a 3 up, we continue playing. At the end of turn 7, we'll roll. On a 4 up, we continue playing. On the end of turn 8, it'll be a 5 up, and at the end of turn 6, we'll only play one last round. Or turn 8, 9 comes after 8, doesn't it? Let me check my notes. Yeah, okay, so at the end of turn 9, we'll roll, and on a 6, we'll play the full 10 turns. Otherwise, it's the number of figures on that side of the road. As far as deployment is concerned, the French are going to deploy first. They are the defenders, after all, and I think you got to dump the cannon inside the walled courtyard. That allows them to cover all of the river crossings. Let's talk a little bit about terrain, shall we? The farm fields are difficult ground. It costs 2 inches to cross 1 inch of ground. The farmhouse blocks all movement and line of sight. The walls are a defensible feature that provides a cover save. The stream, when you move to it, you have to stop in the stream. That's the end of your movement for this turn. At the beginning of your next turn, you may move out of it as normal. But let's say it costs 2 inches of movement to get in. Minimum 2 inches to get in. How do we want to do that? Now, let's call it a minimum of 2 inches to get out. Because I don't want you to move your maximum distance to there and then just move off without paying any kind of a penalty. So when you come out, regardless of what your movement is, when you come out, it costs 2 inches to clamber up over that. The trees are also difficult ground for moving through. Cost 2 inches to move 1 inch through it. And they provide you with a soft cover save. when you are inside those trees. The swamps over here are impassable. They do not block line of sight. And I think that's it. No, that's not true. The bridge here does block line of sight in all directions, which makes life a little bit more awkward for these guys. So what we're going to do is we'll actually turn the road a little bit more. So honestly, that's probably dumb because the road doesn't make any difference. They've gone. These guys are going to drop their foot dragoons right here over in the corner behind the line of sight of these trees. Excuse me, foot dragoons. This is light infantry. I take it back. Now I'm just going to put the leaders for now. This light infantry is going to come on the board right here. The foot dragoons are going to start the game right back here inside the compound. So they're backing up the cannons. We don't know which way they're going to go. The reason for that is we want to force the British to determine where the big boys are going to deploy. And I think there's not a lot of big gaps here. This is the shortest route, is to break through there, but we've got the blocking line of sight. I think we need to set them up over here. So this sergeant, we'll just kind of put him, whoops, sorry about that. We're just going to put him over here for now. I'll get them all deployed later, but the big thing is we want to know where this unit, where's our dashing leader? So that being the case, if we're going to start these guys over here, we're going to put this line infantry right here on the stream. And the stream will call a defensible perimeter as well. So this big unit of infantry is going to have to fight their way across the stream and then face the teeth of the cannon. What did I do? Oh, I used the wrong guy. He starts there. Here's our leader. This guy with the sharp, pointy stick. He's the leader of the line infantry. So he's going to start kind of over there. All right. Let me set the guys up. And then our big boss is going to start over here. And our big boss for the French... Oh, I used the wrong guy. So he starts there. And then the big boss, the Lieutenant Colonel Lennox, he is going to start right here. He's kind of scouting and kind of at the halfway point between each of the guys. We can figure out where he goes later. Let me set up these boys, and we'll get started with the first turn. Here's what the battlefield looks like from the British perspective. The entire eastern half of the battlefield is empty. The plan for these guys is to send the light infantry up into these woods, scramble over the stream, and get into that woods in the distance. That's going to distract the cannon. Alternatively, if all of their focus, the French focus for the defense is on the crossing over here to the west, these guys will be able to march unopposed into those woods in the distance, and then they can make a big assault on the woods over there. The only thing they have to worry about is those foot dragoons that are serving as a reserve behind the cannon. Moving on over to this side, it's going to be pretty simple. All of these boys are just going to have to run as fast as they can and get across that stream. That's all we have. So we're going to roll for initiative first. And I think we add, well, Blue's going to have the initiative. The question is, do they want it? Remember that this is part of a much larger battle. And in the game of Chosen Men, you have a thing called Cauldron of War. And that means parts of the battle that are going on outside of our board can affect what's going on inside the board. The French have the option to choose theirs. And they can choose from any one of the 6 possibilities. And yes, the French are going to choose one. They're going to choose Grape Shot. Any action phase when an enemy is within 12 inches of a board edge in your own deployment zone. In other words, of a board edge in your own deployment zone. So any turn where you've got units that are within 12 inches of the board edge here in this victory area, the French player is going to be able to make a Grape Shot, a canister shot against that unit. Might pay off huge dividends later, but they give up the initiative by choosing that. On the other hand, the British have to roll for theirs, and they get it to delaying tactics. Immediately determine one enemy unit at random. It is immediately removed from the board and must move onto the board in turn 2 instead, entering play from a board edge anywhere in its deployment zone. Wow, that could be huge. We're going to nominate this unit 1-2, the cannon 3-4, and the foot dragoons 5-6. So on a 2, this unit is going to have to come on from their board edge on turn number 2, no less. What a huge change that is. That could make all the difference in the world. We then move into turn number 1, and with that, we can go through the turn phase. The British have the initiative now, and they're going to... What do we want to do here? Do they want to hand initiative over to the French? Yeah, why don't you guys decide what you're going to do? The first thing the French are going to do is move their commander. This is an independent officer. And he is going to immediately rush over into the safety. He's caught out in the open, not a safe place to be. He's going to go move over there. Then the British are going to do the same. Their leader is going to run over and join up with the large unit. I'm not going to show you that just so we don't have too many, camera shifts and whatnot, because the next thing will be for those foot dragoons to move over to this woods here. They're going to move at the double. The obstacle that they want to cross is going to do something bad for them. I think it's basically, he's going to move. There's their leader right here. He moves 1 inch to here. Now, moving at the double, you move the D6 plus another 4, so they can move 10 inches. He moves 1 inch. He's got, but because he's crossed the obstacle, he's only going to be able to move an additional 4.5 inches. So we'll bring him out here into the woods, and then we bring the rest of his fellas up behind him. And the foot dragoons are there. Then we have the British. We'll bot back and take a look at them. Light infantry are also going to move at the double. And they get to move 10 inches themselves. Now, because these are light infantry, first we'll measure, they get to move 5 inches up to the edge of the woods. Now, if this was a normal infantry unit, they would only be able to move an additional 2.5 inches. But because they are light infantry, and I'm going to double check this. Yep. We roll a d6, and on a 4 up, we got the 6. They treat this as regular ground, which means he's going to be able to advance up into the stream already. In fact, all of them are. The question is, do they want to? I kind of, Or do we want to leave him in the woods? I think if we leave him in the woods, it's going to cost us. Yeah, we're going to put him in the stream right now. Because if you leave him in the woods, they're going to take some cannon shot. And then they're going to move into the stream and take cannon shot and then move out. This way you save 1 round of cannon fire. The problem is, oh, shoot. We should have moved the other guys first so that cannon had already moved. Oh, no, this is all just movement. Gunfire happens later. Anybody that doesn't move, which includes the cannon. The last thing we're going to do is the cannon is going to opt to conduct ranging fire against these guys. That's kind of bad for them. But then the last movement that we have to do in this first round is going to be these guys over here. Yeah, my new tripod is a little bit wiggly. They are also going to move at the double, and they also get to move a total of 10 inches. That 10 inches is going to put them pretty close. We're actually going to stop them right here so that they are out of range. They're blocked by the woods. So they come up here, getting ready to jump off. If they had rolled 12 inches, they could have scrambled into the stream already. But it wasn't meant to be. So we move them all up. Man, that's a lot of dudes to move. And I think that's it for the movement for turn number 1. These guys have moved. These guys have moved. Oh, and then their leaders are going to give them reroll dedication checks or morale checks just in case. They have one strategy, and they can use a strategy called, hold your ground. So that has been declared. Anybody else? That's it. We got things a little bit off here in a couple of ways. You need to do all of your moving and shooting with one unit before play passes to the next player. We're going to rewind the tape And we have just finished moving these guys so that he can move and shoot. But wait, we're going to go back just a little bit further. This unit of light infantry does have a drummer, which means after they move at the double, they have the ability to form line. And these guys are actually in line directly behind the first rank, but they're going to fall over. So just for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to leave them like that. Then it becomes the cannon's turn to fire. Now, for this, because they're firing solid case, you measure 8 inches from the barrel, and you drop your target marker right there. Then you roll a d6 to see where it actually lands. Now, you can roll up to 3 d6, and that is how far out that target marker lands. You get to choose 1, 2, or 3. Obviously, because it's only 2 inches away, I'm going to roll a d6 and hope for a low result. All right, 3 inches. That's going to move the target 3 inches away. It's going to put it behind the line, but because they have a leader who ordered ranging fire with his 1 strategy point, he nominated these guys. He said, look, I'm nominating these guys if I want to target them. He can move that marker up or back 6 inches, up to 6 inches. So he's going to drop it right on top of the leader, and that means he has struck this unit. He is going to do a total of D6 wounds to this unit, subject to a couple of modifiers. We're going to re-roll that. There we go. So we got a 4 for the D6. And the first thing we need to understand is that because the unit that it's firing at is in line, that gets reduced down to 3 hits. There's no resilience. There's no save. You just had a cannonball take your head off, guy. There's no save in that. But the one thing that I'm talking as I look this up, to cover the fact that I don't know, I'm looking at scenery because this is cover. Does cover affect cannons? Apparently not. Looking at this, you do get a cover save if you are inside these, but that's only true for musket fire, small arms fire, not for cannons. Cannons go through this. I guess it's just saplings, and I guess this is not deep enough to provide any real cover. So 3 guys are immediately removed. 3 riflemen go bye-bye, leaving just 7 left to continue their movement. And now we really are done with the end of the movement phase, and we move on to the recovery phase. We need to look up some leadership stuff. When a unit loses 25% or more of its strength, which they did, 3 out of 10 is 30%, they have to make a command check or become broken. These guys have a command of 3, which means they need to roll a 4 or better. And with a 4, they succeed, so they are not broken, and that really does end the turn. Now it is time to dice off for initiative again. And this time, the British are going to win the initiative. The highest command is 4 for each of them, so it becomes a 7 versus an 8. And the British are going to start by moving the their light infantry is going to move at the double. So where's the leader? He's standing right there. They can move a total, so they can move to right here normally, adding the D6, so they can move a total of 12 inches. And I think we go ahead and put them right into the woods. They can move a total, so it's going to be, remember, it costs 2 inches to get out of the stream. And then that is 4 inches away, so that's 6. Now the question is, do they get to ignore the light cover? And with a 4, they do. So he can move an additional 6 inches. And he's going to do that. He's going to stop right there. And these guys are going to join up. So they do get the benefit of cover of the trees, which won't do much good for the cannon, but at least well, that being the case, why wouldn't he just go ahead and say, look, as long as I'm not getting that cover save, I'm just going to go ahead and move to right here, and I'm going to dare you to bring those foot dragoons over, or to take a shot with the cannon. And of course, the cannon is going to be firing canister shot at them this time. So let's do that. The cannon is going to turn, and it's going to say, hey, Heidi-ho. Well, they're no threat. They've already done everything they're going to do, right? They moved it to double. They're going to form line in... Oh, I don't think you can form line in rough ground. Yeah, you can't. They would love to dig in, but they don't have the ability to do that without a sapper. So they're done. The leader is going to issue an order, though. He does have the one strategy. He's going to say, "Order steady, lads." He can re-roll failed command checks for the remainder of the turn. All right, that's nice to know. Then we'll go ahead and take a shot with that artillery piece. And once again, we're going to be firing, except this time we're going to be firing Canister Shot. For Canister Shot, works a little bit different. It's a light artillery piece, and you roll... Is it... Canister Shot. Perform a fire action. Simply measure the minimum range and roll a d6. The die's a 1, it misfires. We got an 11. Yep, that's it. So we roll to see how much damage it does. And with a 1, it only removes one guy. Apparently the cover worked. They don't have to make a command check because they did not lose 25% of their units. And then the question is, do we want to... Oh, it's the British turn now. The British are easy. They're going to move into the stream. At least as best they can. So they have used one of their 3. And here's Major Rojam, and he says, "Hey, hop to it, boys." They're going to make a second move, which is going to allow them to move the 4 inches here. Now, at normal attack cost, tells me I think they can move at the double. They're not going to be able to assume a nice new... but look at that, with a 5, ooh, it's just a move, though. So that 5 is going to take them right to the edge of the road, like so. And Major Rojam comes along with him. That's the only time he can do that. And we'll just kind of pile them all in. Now, some of these guys are going to be in rough going, but because it's less than half, it doesn't really make a difference. We're going to make it pretty clear that that's what's going on. But having committed to charging the cannon, they've left themselves open to these reinforcements who are going to come on turn 2 anywhere they want. They also, this is the point at which the French can use their canister shot. From this direction, they're going to blast away at that unit. And they are done, right? They used one move to get into here, and then they used move at the double. That's their 3. So we fire a canister shot from this edge, and we'll just nominate the point nearest, which would be this one. And then we roll the D6. So they are 8 inches away. That's going to put it right into the heart of the formation. And I want to reread it just because I want to make sure I get it right. If you're firing canister shot, you nominate the enemy within the weapon's minimum range. Oh, as long as they're within 12. So I'm not sure what's going on there. When you're doing the Cauldron of War strategy, grape shot, any enemy within 12 inches of a board edge, resolve a canister shot from a small cannon. So we're going to roll a 1 through 5. We're going to roll a d6, and on a 1 through 5 they get hit. So the 3 means they get hit, and then we roll to see how many wounds they take, and it's going to be a total of 3 wounds. So we'll pluck 3 of these guys off from the back. So ka-choo, and that is not 25% of the remaining force. So they stay in the fight, and then the French get to come on, and they're going to come on from the same point. They have a total of 3 attack, and they're going to charge into melee to soften them up. Now with a charge, he's got to roll a d6 and add 6 to it. So he can move 10 inches. That is enough to get stuck in. So these guys have now charged, and we're going to have some melee. And now it might have been a better idea to have those foot dragoons coming around to this side, because they are badly outnumbered, but I don't know what else you're going to do. Melee comes after everybody's moved and shot, and we still have to do these foot dragoons right here. These foot dragoons have the option of charging into melee with this light infantry, or they can go ahead and take a shot with their musketoons. We're going to go ahead and take a shot. There's 5 of them. They're spending 2 tack, which means they get +1 to their attacks. They are firing with musketoons, which have a total range of 16 inches. Between 8 and 16, they'd suffer a -1, but it is less than 8 inches. So altogether, we're going to roll 5 dice. They're hitting on 4-ups. They're going to get a total of 2 hits. Then, because this light infantry is in the woods, they are going to get to take cover saves, which means light cover is going to provide a save of a 6. So on a 6, it negates, it does not. 2 more of these riflemen go down. And that was 25%. They did use their order so they can reroll failed command checks. Looking for a 4, they get a 6 on the first, so they're okay. They're still in the fight, even though they've been reduced from 10 down to 4 guys. And then that is the end of the turn. Got to do some cleanup with the recovery phase, but nobody is broken. Oh no, it's not the end of the turn. What am I thinking? We got to do some combat resolution. From here, we're going to swing around to take a look at this big melee over here. The red marker is to remind myself that the French have charged into combat. Because there are 10 models there, we're going to roll a total of 4, 8, 10 dice. And they're going to be hitting on 4s or better. They get a grand total of 1, 2, 3, 4 hits. Then they have to roll, and they have to meet or exceed the resilience of 3. They get a total of 2 kills. The British have lost 2 men who don't get to counterattack. That puts the final score for the combat for the French. They have a banner, so it becomes 2 wounds, plus 1 for the banner, plus 2 for the charge. They're at a total of 5, and I think that's it. No, then is the big boss? Yeah, he's within 6 inches, so they get an extra 1 for that. So their total score is 7. Unfortunately, that leaves a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Well, hey, it's 20 less 2. So they get to make 18 counterattacks. And then, no, it's 19 because they got the big boss in there too. That's a lot of dice. 5, 10, 15, 6. It turns out 19 is, yeah, 19. All right. No, what am I? Oh, 19, because one of these is for the main commander. Here's our 19 rolls. I think the main commander actually has a melee of 4, does he? Major Rojam, what do you got? No, it's just 3, so they're hitting on 4s. They get a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hits altogether. Not quite as good as you'd expect given the odds, but those 5 hits, again, they're trying to roll meet or beat. 3s are up. So they do a total of 4 hits to see whether they win or not. So the British are going to pull off 1, 2, 3, 4 of the Frenchmen. Then they have a total score of 4, plus 1 for the banner, plus 1 for the unit commander, for a total of 6. So with a total score of 7 to a score of, well, the French have 7, the British have 6. The French have won this combat, and the British now have to make a morale check. And not only that, but because they lost by 1, they're going to have a -1 to their morale check die. Except that there's one more modifier you have to take into consideration. The French remain outnumbered 2 to 1, which means the final score is 7 to 7 for a tie, so they're going to have to fight another round of combat. That may be okay for the French. This brings us to the end of the turn. Now we move on to turn number 3. Moving into the third turn, the British have the initiative, and they want to take advantage of that by firing with these rifles. Now, the rifles are going to take a couple of volleys in return in exchange. The big thing is they want to do some damage to these guys. I get, maybe they could charge these foot Dragoons. They've got a banner and those Dragoons do not. That might be the smarter play. Problem is, it's only 4 on 5, and these guys have pistols and sabers. They're going to be doing more damage. I think we just want to whittle the numbers down as much as possible. So 3 shots. It's going to be a +1, meaning they hit on 3s. They are at close range, so they're going to hit 3 times. And then the foot Dragoons do have a resilience of 4, so we're looking to do wounds on 4 up. We get a total of 2 hits, and that's going to remove 2 of these guys, which is going to force a command check on those guys. The Foot Dragoons have a command of 3, so they need to roll a 4, or they are broken. All right, they're broken. We'll use yellow to show that they're broken, and that is great news because it really does keep those guys out of the fight at a very critical juncture. Then it becomes the British turn. We might as well go ahead and fire with the cannon. We're going to fire another round of grape shot, and that is going to be anything but a 1 is a hit for D6 damage. And they do a total of 6 damage, so that canister shot, that wipes this unit out. Ba-blow. But the cannon has now fired, and everybody that can act has acted. Because these guys are broken, they're going to have to wait and clean up in the melee in the recovery phase. These guys are now going to be doing some fighting. Who strikes first? Nobody charged, which means it is infantry strike before artillery. If several units charged, if there's still a tie, the player with the initiative chooses the strike order. That means that the red guys are going to attack. And there should still be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're going to need 15 dice. Colors don't matter in this case. I have lots of different colors because if you have guys with different attack abilities. So 15s, we are hitting on 4s. And that's going to be quite a few hits. Altogether, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 hits altogether. So we'll pull those 9 dice out, and we're going to roll for resilience. It's going to be looking to roll a 3 or higher to wound the French guys. And we get a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which should just about do it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep. So the unit is wiped out to a man. And then the French don't even get an opportunity to strike back. And this is why that light infantry sacrificing themselves is going to be so huge. Because the turn is now over. We just need to do the recovery phase for the 1 broken unit over there. Foot Dragoons have a command of 3, except I think because they're within 6 inches of the Lieutenant Colonel, I think they use his. Let's just roll and see what happens. All right, so it does become important. Because they are within 6 inches of the big commander, they can use his command. 3 plus his command of 4 is that it puts them at a 7. And the great news is, moving now into turn number 4, it is the French turn to go first. So they're going to get a shot off with this cannon. I'm going to move these guys out of the way. We're going to pivot, and the cannon is going to take a blast at this big mob of troops. With canister shot, anything but a 1 is going to hit big, and then we roll D6 to see how many boys it wipes out. 4. Remember, they had 15 guys in there. So we're going to pull off 1, 2, 3, 4. That does remove 25% of their boys, so they need to make a command check. And where did I put my red die? Here it is. They can use their Major Rojam's command of 4, so we're looking for a 3 up. They get a 4, so they're still in the hunt, and that means they are going to charge. Now, it's not as ideal as you'd think, because this does count as defensible terrain. It's pretty obvious that they're within 6 inches, so they're just going to leap over, and they're going to get involved in combat. The Lieutenant Colonel Lenaloc is in there as well, so we're going to include him in the French, but we'll see, because honestly, the majority is 2s. These are going to be a lot of dice. We've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We got 11 guys are going to be attacking. before we roll to resolve that melee, these guys are going to pile in as well. That's going to make this a little bit more of a fair fight. So 3 inches to get there, and then just 1.5 inches allows them to pile in. And now, oh boy, do we have ourselves a Donnybrook. The British are going to get to go first, and here's the real benefit to bringing those foot dragoons in. The melee score for the cannoneers is 2. The melee score for the big boss and the foot dragoons, with all 3 of them piled in, it's going to be half at 3 and half at 2. We're going to give them the 3s, which means the 11 guys are going to be attacking and hitting on 4s instead of 3s, which is plays right into the French hands. So we're going to have 11 attacks altogether, hitting on 4s, and it's not a particularly great roll. They're going to get 4 hits altogether, and those hits are going to wound on 3 up. So they get a total of 3 kills. And who gets to pick out who the kills are? The player controls the target unit, decides which models are wounded. So he says, you know what, I want to remove my cannon guys. So the score is now 5, 6, 7 to the British. But we've got 3 Dragoons, so here's where we need to start separating out colors. We've got 3 Dragoons who are fighting with a melee of... Oh no, everybody's fighting with a melee of 3. That's not true. The 1 crew member who's left is fighting with a 2. So each of the white dice is going to be hitting on a 3. The orange die hits on a 4. We get a total of 5 hits altogether. I think they're all going to... No. So this guy is only going to wound on... We get a 5, so that's 1 wound. Then we've got 4 dice that are all going to be attacking with sabers. They're all going to be at +1 to hit, so they're going to be wounding on 3s. They're going to be wounding on 2s. So they get a total of 5 kills. 1, 2, 3, 4... Make sure I don't pull any of my special guys. That drummer is still in there. 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now we got to figure out who wins this battle. The British have scored 3 points for 3 wounding hits. They charged for 5. They've got a banner for 6. And their force commander for 7. Do they outnumber? 2, 4, 6, 7. They do not 2 to 1. It's 7 to 4. So their final score tally is a 7. The French have 5, plus they are at defensible terrain for 7, plus they charge for 8, 9, plus their commander's there for 10. So the final score is going to be 7 to 10, meaning the British have to pass a command check at -3 to the roll. That's a pretty tall order right there. They get a total of 3. Add that to the lieutenant colonel of 4. They're at a 7. They have passed, and they continue to fight for 1 more turn. We move on to the next turn. It's the French turn. The French have initiative. The French get to attack first. They are going to be fighting with 4 dice now. And the orange die is going to miss, and these 3 dice are also going to miss. So they only score 1 hit. They're looking to score, and that doesn't do any wounds. Now the British get to attack, and they are going to be rolling 3, 6, 7 dice. We'll make them all the same color just to make them pretty. They are going to be hitting on 3s. Is it 3s or 4s? No, it's going to be 4s. They get a total of 2 hits, 4. Just 1 wound. We'll take off this last cannoneer. And then let's see, does defensible terrain count in subsequent combats? The total tally here, nobody charged. So the British are going to be on 2, 3. And they do outnumber the enemy 2-1, do they not? Nope, they needed that second kill. So they are on a total of 3. The French are on a total of 2, 3. So it's a tie, which means we move on to turn number 6. It's the British turn. So now the British get to strike first. And once again, they're going to roll 4 dice. They're going to score a total of 1 hit. And that 1 hit is going to wound. So this time around, they have a score of 1. The French are going to attack 3 times and get 2 hits, of which neither are going to wound. So it's tie again. Now, is the battle over? I forgot to factor in, they have outnumbered the... No. I got to rerun the numbers on this, right? Because I forgot one very important modifier. They score 1 point here, 1 point for the flag, 1 point for the leader. That's 3. But they also outnumber the enemy, so that becomes a 4. Their total score is 4. Then the French score a total of 2 for the ground, 1 for this guy. The French actually have to make a morale check. And if they score a 5, so it does go on to the next turn, but as we said, the game is over. So either way, the British, by sheer weight of numbers, have managed to pull off a very narrow victory. The well-drilled line infantry, they didn't get a chance to fire off even a single round. That might have been the smart play, to be honest with you, instead of charging into combat. Although it got a little confusing there, didn't it? I'm sure they would have loved to, but the French had other ideas. Getting charged in the back was disruptive of their plans, but that's kind of the way battles work, right? Everybody's got a plan until he gets hit in the mouth. And we saw a very interesting tactical challenge on both sides here. A lot of good options, a lot of fun dice rolling, tense all the way down to the very end. I could see those foot Dragoons scoring a couple of more wins and driving off the British. They were just one bad die roll away from breaking and running away from the remains of that cannon. I had a great time. Thanks for playing along with me. Next time around we play Chosen Men, I think we'll be able to do our little mini campaign, the 5 villages. Till next time, I'm praying for you.